Let's go. All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Kincannon. I'm the president and founder of Square Deal Committee. With me on my left is Jerry Maticata. Jerry is also with us on the board here at Square Deal Committee. Ariel is in front of me. We have J.C. Polanco, who's going to be speaking, Dave Bresla, and Kenny Mulvanna. All right, we're here today specifically to talk about the NYCHA houses. And one of the reasons we're here is because several years ago we had an incident in the NYCHA houses in which a police officer was unfortunately involved in a fatal incident and the death of an individual because the houses were not maintained properly. That's the issue. All right, the lighting was not maintained. The officers were patrolling the hallways, and we had a horrible tragedy happen. We had a death occur, and we believe it was probably an accidental death. That is, all accidental deaths, no one is spared any tragedy. Not the police officer, and not the victims who get shot. So when the mayor decided in the end of June and the beginning of July to turn the heat back on in NYCHA, we tell the mayor it was about 6 months too late. And that's why I'm here with my heavy scarf and my gloves on today, to show this mayor of the city of New York we can do a lot better in the NYCHA houses here. A lot better on what's going on. All right? And that's important for everyone to understand. All right? There are people getting sick because of lead paint poisoning. There's contaminated water towers. There's a lot of things going on. But some of this you might consider the ongoing proper maintenance of these facilities. The problem that we're having with it is that the mayor's staff and the people over in NYCHA, they're actually obscuring the details. That's what's going on. They're covering it up, they're erasing databases, and they're creating acts which are we believe, illegal. All right? Or possibly criminal. You're absolutely right, Jerry. All right? Did you want to add anything else in?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that NYCHA's problems have occurred over many administrations, Republicans, Democrats. One of the reasons we're here is we're nonpartisan. It's about time that people spoke up for everyone. These people in this complex, around the city, have really no spokesman that have come forth that are looking to work for them. And we want to say that there are many people that agree with their plight in these places. And we're here to basically give our support to the
All right, I'm going to ask J.C. Polanco to come up. J.C. has some pretty good details on what's going on. J.C., if you just introduce yourself.
Great. My name is J.C. Polanco. I was the 2017 candidate for the public advocate here in New York City. I'm an attorney from the Bronx. And NYCHA has been very near and dear to me for a very long time. I've been an educator for over 18 years, and throughout my teaching career, I've had thousands and thousands of students that have lived their entire lives in NYCHA. They've lived in NYCHA for generations. Their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents have lived in these complexes. And obviously for far too long, the people that have been living in these complexes have been ignored by city government. And we see it every year. People go without heat, people go without warm water when it's cold and they have children in their apartments. We see high levels of asthma and other illnesses in these units. And we continue to forget that these are lives that we're talking about and that these lives matter. Sadly for New York City government, what we have seen is a constant disregard for these people. Would you believe that 1 week after Election Day, the city announces a report led by the Department of Investigation where they uncovered that for a year, NYCHA has committed fraud against the residents that live in these housing complexes. Fraud regarding mold testing, fraud regarding lead testing. We had seen that for years. NYCHA has signed off on testing that never ever happened, putting the lives of the people that live in places like this in complete danger. And it's as if nobody cares. And I wonder why that is. Today, the city has paid tens of millions of dollars to the victims of lead poisoning from NYCHA housing. The question that I have for the city is, when did you know? Why didn't you let us know about it beforehand? I am going to go on the record today. The city knew that these people were living in these conditions, and it kept it under wraps because an election was in the middle, and it would have been inconvenience for this mayor for us to know that his administration allowed for hundreds of thousands of people to be lied to and that to be poisoned through lead and mold poisoning in their units. It's time that the city cares about these people. I know that we only care about the people that vote for us consistently, and sadly politicians only chase votes. And it's unfortunate that too many people in public housing don't vote at a higher propensity. Maybe perhaps that's why the mayor didn't tell us. Maybe perhaps that's why local elected officials look the other way. But I'm so glad to be part of this organization today, to put it on the forefront on a nonpartisan basis. People are dying in not a Democrat or Republican way. People are dying and getting sick because of fraud and criminal behavior from this administration. I want to thank you so much for having me here today to point out what's going on here in NYCHA House.
JC, don't go anywhere because there's going to be some Q&A as well. And this is what we call the inconvenient truth about what's going on. The citizens of the city of New York deserve the unblemished truth, and then let them make decisions. I'd like Dave Bresler to come up and just say a few words. Dave?
Thank you, Joe. I'm David Bresler. I'm running for New York State Assembly. Well, it's all right. But this is not a political issue, okay? This is a people issue. And I was one of the first candidates to speak out about NYCHA. The neglect that people have to suffer day in and day out. Now they're estimating that it needs $26 million to do repairs. That's up from $9 billion from 2005. Where did all that money come from? Where did all that money be spent that we budgeted for all these years? To JC's point, politicians didn't care about it. It was an election. Well, this is not an election issue. This is a people issue that people are suffering. Kids are suffering from lead poison due to the neglect of the inspectors of the NYCHA system. So we have to speak up. Every citizen has to speak up. Now, I'm not here as a politician. We're nonpartisan, as JC said. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's about good citizens, good people suffering day in and day out because of the neglect of our politicians that are leading this city. And I definitely blame Mayor DeBlasio for it. He's the head, and he takes the blame. There's no excuse for this. And there's no way that any politician can justify the conditions that these people are suffering from. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. And I also appreciate you, I know it's a difficult situation for you since you are running, but you said it's not partisan, because that's what this is. So many of the issues facing the citizens of the city of New York are not Republican or Democratic issues, all right? These are just life and death issues in so many different ways. We saw it with Peter Leung, we see it with the lead poisoning, we see it with the water contamination, and what's worse than that is the systemic corruption that's going on behind the NYCHA inspection process and reporting. This is something where we need oversight from the state and federal government to come in here and take a hard look at what's going on. I'm going to ask Kenny to come to the microphone and just say a few words. Ken?
How y'all doing today? My name is Kenneth Mulvena. I'm the Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of Queens. As my fellow colleagues said, thank you, Mr. Buchanan, for inviting me today. As my fellow colleagues said, this is not about a Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian issue. This is about a nonpartisan issue of corruption and a city government that's caring more about vanity than actually protecting and caring about its citizens. The rampant cover-up and fraud of NYCHA, of these conditions that people are living in, that's going to cost the city millions of dollars, costing people lives and their safety, is a disgusting act of the city and very much a symbol or a greatest example of the city's corruption and massive problems when it comes to cronyism and a lot of how voters and politicians in the state are taking people's hard-earned money and their lives and giving them great promises and lying to them about the results of it just to get in power. It is a symbol of everything wrong right now with American politics, regardless of your political affiliation. And because of that, it is important that all of us, regardless of our political ideology, we come here today and we stand and say NYCHA needs to be held responsible, Mayor DeBlasio needs to be held responsible, the city government needs to be held responsible for this vicious cycle of entrapping the most vulnerable of our people of Queens and of New York City as a whole. And what we need to do is stand up and take back and hold people responsible for the actions they've done today and putting people's lives in danger for the sake of people protecting their own jobs and their own risks as part of a multitude of does to trap themselves to keep a few politicians in there, but he's in power and wealth. So I'm glad to be here today. I'm glad to be saying against what NYCHA's doing and the corruption they covered up, and the disgusting treatment and disgusting actions they've putting people presidents they lived through here, and that we need to hold them accountable for all citizens, and we need to have better solutions to our housing problem in the state. It needs to start with reforms within city government and state government. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinny. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, everybody. We're going to end this conference in a way that we started it. All right. The city and this mayor started off on a tale of two cities. All right, very rich and wealthy and connected, and those that are just living every day today. All right, whether it's their income basis or whether their social circumstances or whatever it is, and we all need to be treated equally. And what's going on now, because of the systemic corruption that has been exposed, and I'm sure this has been going on for years. All right, but Bill DeBlasio ran on greater transparency and a tale of two cities, where he said, at least he implied to everyone in the city of New York that he would not be doing that. All right, he would be addressing the concerns of all people in the city of New York, and that's important here. I can't emphasize that enough, and that's why we're here. We think we need state oversight. I think the proper thing to do here is bring this into a special counsel's office or the U.S. Attorney's office and see who exactly has been fudging the books. See what's going on. See who's telling the lies in city government about the conditions that are going on. We'd like the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District and the Eastern District to take a good look at what's going on here and put some correction to it. And perhaps once we get some indictments that come out on a federal level, maybe then we'll get the truth of what's going on inside these houses. And maybe then we'll also get the health certificates, the health stats on the kids and the parents that live here as well. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming. After the press conference, we'll be available for further questions. Thank you.